We begin tonight in Roanoke County with new details on a fatal officer-involved shooting that happened last November. The Commonwealth's attorney finding the officer was justified in firing his weapon. Attorney Brian Holohan reviewed the death of 52-year-old Sean Smith after officers were called to his home on Lantern Street for a domestic dispute. WFXR's Rian Lowndes joins us tonight in the studio with more information on that case. So, Rian, what do we know?
Roanoke County Commonwealth's attorney Brian Holohan said under the circumstances of November 26th, the police officer's fear of death was reasonable and his use of deadly force was justified. Now, along with that decision, we learned new information about that day. A neighbor of Smith called 911 after Smith's relative told them he had a loaded gun and threatened to shoot himself. Smith had driven away from that residence. Smith returned 10 minutes later, and shortly after, officers arrived to the scene. Now, officers set up a perimeter, and after half an hour of attempting to contact him, Smith came out with a bat but went back inside when officers approached. When he came back out again, the report says Smith was asked to leave his screened-in porch more than a dozen times. Officers were also telling him that he was not under arrest. In that conversation, Smith acknowledged the earlier dispute, but said there was no gun. When Smith went back inside the house again, he came back out, this time with a strobe light pointing into the officer's eyes. A microphone on the officer recorded that conversation between the two. The officer asking if Smith had a gun because he couldn't see past the strobe light. When Smith asked the officer if he had probable cause, the officer told him yes and told Smith to drop the weapon. The report goes on to say that Smith was holding a flashlight at chest height, pointing it at the officer and walking towards him. The officer again told Smith to drop whatever he was holding and then fired his weapon, hitting Smith in the neck twice and killing him. Now, the flashlight and a large hunting knife were found on the floor near Smith's body. After what the report calls an exhaustive search, no gun was found inside the house. Along with the attorney's decision that the shots were justified, the chief also reported that a review was done by the police department's professional standards unit and found that the officer had acted within the department's policy. Live in studio, Rian Lowndes, WFXR News.
All right, Rian, thanks so much for those details.